What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to MLB Swing for the Fences here on the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel. It's Sunday, July 13th, and it's the day before the MLB All-Star break, a gambling hiatus for some, I'm sure. For me personally, I'll be taking a few days off for the most part to recharge the batteries, get ready for the second half of the year. But we got someone who, I don't know if he's taking a few days off. We got someone who gets in the action every day. You can't blame them when you're posting the six-figure screenshots. Seems like every week. Third and Schlong, Bryce, how you doing on this Sunday morning, my man?
I'm just wonderful. Kind of a bad time for me with the show today because have decent golf sweats right now, and I do love the timing normally for like the overseas golf. You get Center Alcaraz, which is like. I love watching tennis. Going to the U.S. Open this year, actually. It'll be a fast moving show today, so we can get out of here before the All-Star break. But last opportunity to make money. I personally love the All-Star break. It kind of gives you a time to reset. Like I know I play every day, but baseball's a grind. You're not. Especially because like I only play tournaments in baseball. I'm not really playing like cash like I am in NFL and stuff. So like, it's basically lose, win huge, lose, etc. You don't want to burn yourself out in DFS is my main point here. And, it definitely gives you a good time to like reset, kind of plan like your bankroll going into football, all that stuff. So I love the All-Star break. I'm not going to do anything this week. I have family reunion in Pittsburgh with a bunch of people that I haven't seen in a long time. So and my birthday's Friday. So it's just kind of a natural break. Getting dinner with Peter Gibbons on Thursday, which should be fun. I haven't seen him in a long time. But yeah, it should be a fun week. When it's your job, I know you guys love playing and whatnot, but when it's your job, not complaining or anything, but it gets a little burdensome sometimes. It's nice to have some time off.
Yeah, you made a good point there where, we obviously see the screenshots of the big wins, but when you're entering a lot of money in the GPPs every night, there's some bad stretches too, right? Certainly some bad days, some bad stretches.
Yeah, I mean, any night I'm not posting a screenshot, I'm basically losing, and sometimes I'll win small or like lose small, but normally you're returning what, like half of your entry fees, in general. So, I mean that's just the nature of playing tournaments. I don't win every day. You don't win every day. If we did, we would not be on the show. And
I'd still be on the show, Bryce. I love talking ball with people.
Well, Sundays work out so well for us. I mean, we should do this like every Sunday. We do, but Sundays are like my absolute favorite baseball day because they're all the games start at the same time. Like yesterday, for example, like the 1 and 2 p.m. games were like so annoying. The Marlins put out their lineup half an hour before the game. Like I'm just sitting at my computer for 4 hours waiting for lineups. It feels like an NBA slate at that point.
Yeah, baseball especially. All DFS sports are like this, but you kind of got to stick to the process and stick to the research, even when things don't necessarily go your way for a stretch, just because there's so much variance in the sport. I mean, even just, one pitcher, right? We see results all over the place on a start-to-start basis. And then when you're trying to put together a whole winning lineup that's good enough to get to the top of a GPP, even if you're playing well and putting in, top 1% or 5% or 10% lineups more often than the field, that's about all you can do, right? And then you hope, obviously, some of those lineups get all the way to the top, and that can fuel a season. So, yeah, it's been a fun first half here, certainly at Run Pure Sports. A lot of big winners. I personally haven't gotten to the very top of a huge tournament yet so far this year, but we'll get one, I hope, in the second half. And, I'm looking forward to the break.
We're going to get one today, DC.
Yeah, I got family coming in to Breckenridge. I assume you've been up to the mountains of Colorado at some point, Bryce. And so I see my nephews and my niece, which I don't get to see very often. We'll do some mountain stuff, which I have kind of developed a passion for over these last 3 or 4 years. So looking forward to the break. And I'll be ready, Bryce. I'll be ready to get back to the grind of baseball when we return next week. But we got one more slate. We got one more slate to try to get to the top, get a big score, have an extra good break if we can manage that. So 11 games to talk about. And we gotta dive into it. So let's start in Baltimore for the Marlins and the Orioles. Two right-handers going here. Brandon Young for the Orioles against the hard-throwing Yuri Perez for Miami. I'll sometimes make the case for, not sometimes, often make the case for some cheaper pitchers in order to fit in the big bats. And a lot of times, Bryce, those are pitchers I don't really believe in. I just think they are a good play on that particular slate for, price, ownership, lineup construction reasons. Perez, though, it is safe to label him as kind of one of my guys. I've always been a fan of Yuri Perez, one of the youngest starting pitchers in baseball. Really hard thrower, awesome stuff, huge fastball. And we've started to see the results these last two starts with 8 and 7 strikeouts up to 88 pitches. They're letting him go a little bit deeper into games, and he's a huge talent. There's no question about it, who I do think is going to figure it out as long as he can stay healthy. He's healthy right now, and he gets a good strikeout matchup here against the Orioles. So we do start out with one of my favorite, at least cheap pitchers on this slate. There are several good, expensive options, but if you're spending down, Yuri Perez is the guy for me at 6,500. I think he's got double-digit strikeout upside on this slate against this team. It is a dangerous matchup in terms of run prevention. Going to be a really nice day to hit weather-wise in Camden Yards, but I'm in on the Yuri Perez train here for sure. Probably won't play many, if any, Orioles bats across my 10 lineups. And then Brandon Young going for the Orioles. Not a lot of interest, just not a high strikeout arm. He's not going to go deep into the game. I do think you can look at some of these power bats for the Marlins. I've talked about them a lot. To me, they've got kind of a clear big three: Jesus Sanchez, Agustin Ramirez, Kyle Stowers, who are hitting 2, 3, 4 in the lineup today. Big potential out of those guys each and every slate, but especially here. And I think a pretty good matchup for all three. So mostly Marlins for me in this game to kick us off. What do you see, Bryce, between the Marlins and the Orioles?
I couldn't agree more. Yuri Perez is one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. I don't think this is like a super strong top range of pitching, which we'll get into. Like, I'm going to be pretty spread at pitcher, but I expect Yuri Perez to be a pretty solid buy for me. I have him like 30%.
Yeah.
So, if I was playing
well
teams, I'd play him in one.
You don't often get that.
I'm going to be significantly over the field on Yuri Perez here. There's not tons of cheap guys I like, but I also don't really like the top range. So he's kind of a guy I want to not like core, but I want a lot of. Hitting wise, I do think you can play batters against him, because if it goes bad, it probably goes like very bad. But, with playing so much of him, I'm not getting probably as many Orioles bats on the field. So I assume I'll be under. If you did want to pick out some Orioles bats here, Holiday and Gunnar would kind of be like my two that I really do prefer. Other side of the game, I have no interest in Brandon Young here. Yeah, he doesn't even make my pool today. Yeah. And then Miami bats, don't love. I would much prefer like one-offs of Jesus Sanchez, Xavier Edwards, Ramirez, Stowers, and Lopez. Like 1 to 2 or 3 man stacks is kind of the way I'd attack it. Don't think I'll have a lot of Miami 5-mans, but I do have interest in like the small stacks just because they're cheap and do have upside.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I like that 2, 3, 4 mini stack.
Craig brings up a good point here. Sorry, weather concern in Baltimore, Miami. I think the game plays clean. I don't think they will start it on time if they don't think they can get like a decent start out of the pitchers. So not something I'm super concerned about going into the slate. Weather's been a big thing this week. And, middle of summer, you get storms, Midwest, East Coast. So it's definitely something to pay attention to. Right now, I'm playing it as if there's no issue. If that changes, I will be sure to tag the RPS Discord.
Yeah, I think we're mostly in the clear for weather today. Choke Holden mentioned Atlanta St. Louis game. That does look like the most Concerning game to me too, but even that one probably gets in day before the All-Star break. I think they'll be patient. They usually are on Sunday.
These teams, especially before the All-Star break, you bring up a great point. There is no chance these guys want the games like postponed until after the All-Star break. They want to play today and have their own break. We're talking about us having a break, betting on the games, and playing DFS. The players for sure want a break, and so do the managers, every umpires, everyone making those decisions.
Yeah, I think we'll get all 11 games in. Potentially a small delay or two. It's hot and humid, so we could see pop-up storms. But for the most part, Bryce, I'm just treating like these games, at least for now, like they're going to play without.
Yeah, if something crazy pops up, we'll try and highlight it if we're still on the show or.
And we do need to keep a close eye on this particular game because we both do like Yuri Perez. And it could be a little concerning if it looks like the storms are approaching and they decide to start the game on time.
I would prefer if this game started in delay. I don't think there's any chance that this game gets postponed. The only postpone I would worry about St. Louis, and even then, I think that game plays pretty clear. So, yeah.
Yep, 100% with you there. Let's move on to Tampa Bay and Boston in Fenway Park. The Red Sox, winners of 9 games in a row. It's funny to see the initial reactions to something like a Rafael Devers trade, and then a month later or however long it's been, it's like, this is the best trade. What a trade by the Red Sox. It just shows you how quickly sentiment can change on anything like that. Everybody thinks they know everything right when it happens, all the hot takes, and then now the Red Sox. Here we go. They're playing great baseball. They'll go with Brian Bayo today against the Tampa Bay Rays. Bayo's been okay. Did have that big start, of course, against the pace-eating Rockies, but generally not a pitcher who delivers a ton of results. Not a huge fan of him today in Fenway, which should play hitter-friendly. So I'm out on Bayo. I think I'm mostly out on Pepio too at 8,800. Feels like a high price tag for him in Fenway Park for a team that's won 9 games in a row. They're in, of course, they're going to want to win their 10th straight game at home going into the break. So I think you'll see a focused Red Sox team. And this isn't something that comes up a lot in baseball, Bryce, but I do think there's, some teams like the Red Sox who are going to be, I assume, like dialed in every at bat to try to win this game and go in strong. And we're going to see some teams, maybe you can kind of tell by the lineups that they put out, limping to the halfway point right here, right? Where everybody ready for a break. They've been losing games. The morale is low, whatever. They're ready to get out of there. I don't really want to pick on a team like the Red Sox today. So you know what? I'm going to get Pepio, I think, out of the pool. Maybe get to some of these Red Sox bats. I wouldn't be surprised to see them put up another big game. There's been quite a few of them over the last month or so, especially over the last 2 weeks. And I think the Rays look pretty good too. I kind of like the offenses here in Fenway today. What do you see, Bryce? Rays and Red Sox.
Another game I 100% agree with you on. Want nothing to do with pitching in this game. I have no Pepio, and I don't think I have any. I don't have any Bayo either. That's way too expensive for him, in my opinion. There are cheaper guys and slightly more expensive guys that have exponentially more upside. If you had to throw a pitcher here, I'd throw Pepio, but not. I don't even think he makes my 150 today. So, that shows how I like pitching here. Hitting wise, definitely prefer the Red Sox side. You get Bregman back. As you brought up, I think they are really trying to win this game. Like, you're not going to bring one of your star players back the game before the All-Star break without like wanting to win the game. I think offenses, there's one really good offense, and then after that, it's kind of a bit spread today, in my opinion. And Boston is one of my favorite alternatives, and I'm going to have them highly owned. Favorite bats here. Sorry, let me sort by team. I was running a file I really liked before the show. Duran, definitely my favorite bat on the team. And then Story, Anthony, Yoshida, Bregman.
It's a like top 5 for the Red Sox, right? That you want, 1 through 5. Yeah.
Top 5. Romy is super overpriced for hitting 8th, so no one's going to play him. But I'm kind of a buyer on him and have been a buyer like long term. So I think that's a decent play in tournaments. Rafaela, you saw him with the big hit yesterday, as Uncle T brings up, but I've been a buyer on him pretty much all season. I love playing like the wraparound stack, or like at least like one really weird guy like low in the order. So yeah, I would probably say, as you said, 1 to 5 with like a weird bat in there would be my preferred stack. But I like the Red Sox a decent amount in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, even the guys that I don't like in particular, Marcelo Meyer, Connor Wong, they're cheap enough where you can certainly get to a full 5-man Red Sox
Yeah,
stack.
Wong helps out your stack a lot in terms of pricing.
Exactly.
It's not like the Red Sox are super expensive, but you get that 2K bat in there.
Mm-hmm.
It just lets you get out to pitching and elsewhere.
What about the Rays? What are you doing with the Rays against Bayo?
The Rays, sorry for not mentioning them. I'm not super high on them. I think Bayo has the ability to like throw a decent game. I just don't think he has tons of upside. Probably his side I'm going to be lower on. I have them, I think 3 to 5%. So not like a team I'll really recommend here. Not a team I'm leaving out of my pool. If you're playing 20 lineups, I would consider like a Rays 5-man or a 3-man. But not tons of interest in them.
I'm with you. We'll move on to the Cubs and the Yankees in the Bronx. Going to be, looks like in the mid 80s, some humidity. Looks like a pretty good park for home runs here between the Cubs and the Yankees. Yankees will go with Will Warren, who has had a really pretty strong first half for them. He's had some really, really bad starts, but for the most part, Warren has been good. A pleasant surprise, I think, for the Yankees overall, but a tough spot for him here against the Cubs. Warren, he's got some really severe splits, which makes sense when you watch him pitch. He's got some really nice breaking balls that move to the glove side, which makes him effective against right-handed hitters, same-handed hitters he throws from the right side. But he's got some good lefties in there today. Michael Busch leading off, Tucker in the 2-hole, PCA, of course, one of the best players in baseball in the first half of the season. What to get for the Cubs. And I kind of think the Cubs, they're expensive, but I kind of think they could be a sneaky stack here against Warren. I think they've got good power potential, short porch in right field, really good left-handed bats in Warren. Decent pitcher, but has struggled against lefties. So I think paying up for guys like Tucker, PCA, and Busch could be a good way to get a little bit contrarian today, especially if you're on the Yuri Perez train and saving money at starting pitcher. So I like the Cubs. I'm out on Warren here in this matchup. And then I'm out on Shota Imanaga too, a good pitcher, but another pitcher, Bryce, who has a clear weakness. He's a extreme fly ball pitcher, gives up a ton of fly balls. It's a dangerous game against this Yankee lineup in this stadium. These guys, I mean, Bellinger, Judge, Stanton, Jazz, Dominguez, that 2 through 6 in particular. Goldschmidt's been struggling, so I think I'll probably leave him off. But I like that 2 through 6 for the Yankees. A lot of power potential. We've seen, obviously, Bellinger had the 3 home run game. We know what Aaron Judge can do. Stanton, he strikes out, but he's still got the power, and he has crushed lefties over the course of his career. So I'm looking at this Yankees stack as pretty appealing. I will say, you can definitely play them just as one-offs if you want to, because you're really chasing the home run ball here. I don't think Imanaga is going to start walking dudes. It's not going to be a merry-go-round situation. It's going to be the home run ball, I think, that gets him if he struggles in this start. So Judge looks awesome. I think Judge and Stanton are my 2 favorites in the Yankees lineup. What are you doing, Bryce, with Cubs and Yankees here?
Want nothing to do with pitching here. As you said, yet another game that we're kind of in lockstep on. I do like hitters a lot. I think these guys are going to go like much lower owned than you would expect, just because they're so expensive. Like both teams are hard stacks to fit in. And you can definitely play them as one-offs and 3-mans. I think the 5-man will be very different. Not tons to say other than that. I mean, you guys know who the good Yankees hitters are, who the good Cubs hitters are. It's just kind of the usual suspects here. Imanaga is kind of limping into the break. I would prefer the Yankees to the Cubs here, but the Cubs have come down in price a little bit, but 1 through 4 are still all 5.3K and above. Like it's not a cheap stack. So, that's where like the Yuri Perez recommendations and stuff like that comes in. It's it's pretty much impossible to play without playing a cheap pitcher. There are some other ones other than Yuri, but yeah, I think the main hindrance to playing this game is the pricing.
Yeah, and I gotta walk back the Goldschmidt hate against a lefty. He's got some crazy numbers against lefties. Gets one against Imanaga.
And Goldie does help you fit the stack too. Like him and Stanton at 3.8 and 3.5. They will be the chalkiest Yankees bats, along with Judge, obviously. Just because they're cheap.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't mind them. I think who are my highest owned bats here? Yeah, I think Goldschmidt was actually my highest owned Yankee bat, just because you're 3.8K leading off.
He's going to be in my lineup if I end up with the Yankee stack, which I probably will on one lineup. You gotta be careful on these shows. You don't want to ship, and then it's like, oh, now I'm on record as saying I wasn't going to play this guy, and he's in the winner, and the haters come for you with their pitchforks, like the Simpsons when they're all coming with let's get them. But
that's the issue with giving recommendations and whatnot. Like, I mean. I might not recommend Tampa Bay if I ship with my 1% Tampa Bay stack that I don't recommend. It is what it is. But that's the difference between playing 150 lineups and playing one. It's a little easier to lock down.
Sure.
I think pricing is the big hindrance in this game. You definitely need to find a cheap pitcher to do it.
Yeah, enough crying for us. Let's go down to Cincinnati for the Rockies and the Reds. Reds let me down a little bit yesterday. Thought they were going to do
all series.
Yeah. We'll try again today, though. We got Austin Comber going to the mound for the paste-eating Rockies and Nick Martinez for the Reds. I have trouble kind of getting a handle on Nick Martinez. He's coming off an awful start against the Marlins. 10 earned runs in 5 innings. I don't think he's really a high upside pitcher in general, but I consider every pitcher against the Rockies, especially right-handed pitchers, especially pitchers that can give you 100 pitches if things are going well. So I do think Nick Martinez has got to be in the pool. How high up in the pool I think is debatable, but he's on my short list. Just the Rockies are just so bad that I think he's almost got to be. And he's not, he's an okay pitcher. He's not great by any means, but I am certainly considering Nick Martinez when you're trying to get in, the big bats. And there are several. We just talked about a few. I mean, if you're trying to get in a Cubs Yankees game stack, which I think would be fun, you got to spend down a pitching. So Nick Martinez, someone I'm considering. Austin Gomber, completely off the list for me. I assume the same for you. Certainly looking at these Reds bats, though, Gomber gives up a ton of power. He is slightly worse against right-handed bats, but I do think you can play either side against him. I wouldn't expect him to be in this game for too long, obviously, especially if the Reds stack does go off. So, yeah, I like the Reds. Looking at McClain, Hayes, Steer, Noelvi Marte looks awesome here. Stevenson, of course, you can play Ellie De La Cruz. He does swing better from the left side in general, but against Gomber and the Rockies, I'm fine, of course, playing Cruz. And yeah, it's pretty much all Reds for me here. Schlong, maybe the Reds can come through here on the day before the All-Star break. What do you see? Rockies and Reds in Great American Ballpark.
The Reds have let people down pretty much this entire series after, everyone matches the Colorado starting pitching in pen. Gomber is one of the better matchups that you do draw. So, I mean, I'm all over the Reds here. I don't think there's any question that they're the number one stack on the slate. I'm not going to spend too much time just because they are going to be the chalk. If you can get up to them, play them. Like I might play like a little weirder 3-man, maybe a little weirder pitching with them because they will be chalky. But I mean, I'm definitely on them today. You get Marte, who's been absolutely mashing up to 6, which I do like. I do think the bottom of this order carries a little bit of pinch hit risk. Espinal and Joe, I wouldn't be surprised if they get pulled if a right-hander does come into the game. And, it's not like we're expecting Gomber to last a long time here. I just think people have PTSD from the Reds, like the last pretty much this whole series. So
Yeah.
even though they're going to be chalky, still one of my favorite buy spots. McLean, Ellie, Hayes, Steer, Marte would be like my preferred stack 2 through 6 here. But, Stevenson's still a great play. Connor Joe at 2K obviously makes a lot of things work. Do you think he gets pinch hit for? Because
I would say probably, but if you got a 5-man red stack, I assume if you're playing Connor Joe, you kind of most likely have a full red stack. They could.
He can get there. He can get there in 2 or 3 at bats too. You're playing the wraparound.
It's the day before the break. Connor Joe has barely played. If they're up by 6 or 7 runs, which they probably will be if the Red Sox, they just probably leave him in there and give the other guys the day off. Why not? It's not, you don't have to pinch hit for him if things are going well. So
yeah,
at 2K, I'm fine.
100%. Plus he fills 2 positions, like first base and outfield. So I just naturally get more of the multi-position guys in MME. Going to the other side of the game, Martinez, pitcher. How owned do you think he'll be? I have him at 27%, and I kind of feel that I'm going to be under the field on him just because everyone jams in pitchers against the Rockies. If you are fading him, I don't hate a Rockies one-off. Like, they still have a couple decent hitters in this lineup. Toglia, McMahon. Big knock that Goodman's not in the lineup today. I think that helps Martinez a good amount. Goodman's obviously
these guys are dirt cheap. I think you want.
Yeah, they're 3K, like 3.4, 2.8, 3.1. Like, if you're fading Martinez, I like them simply based on leverage. Like, if Martinez doesn't get there, and someone's going to do well on this team, I like 2 through 4 as like a small Colorado stack. I don't think I get to a lot of 5-mans. Just because I never really get to a lot of 5-mans, but I love playing a couple. And I've been doing this all week. Like, against Singer yesterday, like, he's not like a great pitcher, but he still puts up 25 against the shit ass Rockies. But they had their chances. I think it's a good leverage spot against pitchers against the Rockies in general, as long as it's not like a dominant pitcher. Like, Nick Martinez is a guy I've been selling all season. This might be the first time I've played him all year. Like, I'm not super enthralled about it.
That was me with Singer, but I still played him yesterday.
I still played Singer yesterday. I just think Singer's a way better pitcher than Martinez. I don't hate the Rockies leverage stack, and I will have some of them.
That makes sense to me. You mentioned the 2, 3, 4. That's Moniak, Toglia, McMahon, all swinging from the left side. I think you can play the 5-man because the 5th and 6th.
You can get whatever you want if you play a Rockies 5-man.
Brenton Doyle,
and you're going to get automatic leverage.
100%. Brett, you're going to get the leverage. Brenton Doyle is 2,600. He's got big power.
Doyle, I like too. I like him more than Moniak.
The 6th guy is a stone 2K. Yankiel Fernandez, who's one of their better prospects, has big power from the left side. He's down in the 6 hole at 2K. Hasn't done anything yet, but certainly if you look at the AAA numbers, he absolutely has power. So, I'm going to have some Martinez. I probably will play a full 2 through 6 Rockies leverage stack. And, maybe we'll get to the top with my most hated team in the league, the Rockies today. Hey, you can get there any way you want. And I could see it. I could see it with the Rockies.
Even if you're not playing Martinez, like, if you need a cheap one-off, like Doyle, like McMahon, et cetera, are great one-offs. It's only one player leverage, but, if Martinez is failing, there's one of these hitters is going to do well.
Probably more than one, frankly. And I'm with you. We'll get get a little Rockies in our lives today. I'm sure that would go absolutely swimmingly. Let's get to Detroit, Mariners and Tigers. 2 good pitchers going here. Jack Flaherty, Logan Gilbert. Gilbert hasn't been quite the same since coming back from injury. He missed almost 2 months from April 25th to June 16th. Was on the IL. Since then, averaging just around 15 DraftKings points per game over, I believe that is 5 starts. It's, I think, mostly kind of running bad for Gilbert, but away from home, 10.2K against another team in the Tigers, who I assume, up top of the division. This would be a team that I would expect to be focused today, trying to win at home going into the All-Star break. So I'm a little lower on Gilbert here. Not that he couldn't have a big game, but I don't know. I don't like playing Gilbert all the way up at 10K plus when he's away from Seattle. So yeah, I'm a little lukewarm on Gilbert. I like Flaherty better actually with the almost 2K discount. It's been not a great season for Flaherty so far, but the strikeouts have been there, especially in the last 3, 8, 9, and 7 strikeouts. Good strikeout matchup here against Seattle, who this is one of the teams. I think pitchers go a little bit under-owned against Seattle in general. Of course, they've got to, pitchers got to deal with the incredible Camporeale, who just keeps getting the job done. But man, a lot of swing and miss in this lineup. And Flaherty misses his fair share of bats. I do think he's a pretty strong play. One of my favorite pitching plays on the day is Jack Flaherty. What about you, Schlong? Where'd you end up with the Mariners and the Tigers here?
Bats don't have a lot of interest in, especially after Seattle going absolutely nuts yesterday. I like Flaherty and Gilbert. Have them both around 30%. They would probably fall I think there's 5 very strong pitchers today, like of these expensive guys. I would rank Gilbert pretty much even with Flaherty. And you get the price discount. I would prefer Flaherty here. I have slightly more. I'm like low 30s on Flaherty, high 20s on Gilbert. I'm just a little spread out here at the top end of the pitching, but there are some guys who want to target. Like there's not last slate we had Crochet, who obviously threw the complete game shutout. Slate before that didn't work out, but you had Skubal. Like there's no true ace today, so I'm kind of going to let pricing dictate it a bit. I don't love pitching these Seattle guys outside of Seattle, but if this game was in Seattle, these guys would be like 50%. So there is a little bit of risk on each. I like pitching here. I'm probably not going to get to any bats. I would much rather play like weird, like Colorado one-offs or mini stacks than attack these teams or pitchers.
Yeah, I'm with Uncle T, Flaherty over Gilbert here, but I do think both guys are viable, and I'm with you, Schlong. I don't really see much of a reason to get to bats here outside of Camporeale, who is just an elite one-off on every slate with the power he brings, and he'll go.
Yeah, I'm not excluding Camporeale from my pool. It's just like I would probably rather play other leverage guys. How much here? Let me see how much rally I got on this.
He's going to be 5% on there saying, so he's got to be a good
play. I have 4% Raleigh, so I'll probably be about the field, and that's pretty much like my one-offs for the game. I have a bit of Julio, like a Rosarena, just guys who have upside here.
Sure.
JP Crawford, super cheap leading off. I'm just not going to recommend hitters in this game because you can't recommend everything. So.
It's just tough. Obviously the pitchers are good, and then it's a tough home run park. You have the two together, and it doesn't look super great for the offenses. But I'll make an exception for the big dumper.
The big dumper. He's just been unbelievable this year.
You just break so many slates with the double.
Especially at the start of the year. He won me a bunch of money. I'm a little biased towards him at this point.
Yeah, I'll be trying to get him on a team or two for sure. Let's get to Cleveland and the Chicago White Sox. This one, in Chicago at Wright Field. There it is. There's my game. Two pitchers who I don't think you want to play today. Aaron Savale going for the White Sox. Been a rough go for him, along with the rest of that White Sox staff for most of the year. Guardians aren't really a team that I look to very often, but I do think you can play these guys today. Jose Ramirez doing his thing. He's been on fire. You got Nolan Jones and Kyle Manzardo hitting 2 and 4 for very cheap prices. Both of those guys are boom bust hitters with kind of a lot of power and nothing else, but it's a pretty good spot for that kind of player. So I'll add them to the mix as cheap options. Carlos Santana, I think, is a good way to go as well. Bo Naylor, even I think you could play. He's got power. So a little bit of interest in some cheap Guardians, surrounded, of course, by Jose Ramirez. And then the White Sox, I don't think I'm going to get there. Cantillo did get up to 84 pitches last time out over 4 innings. So conceivably could give you 5 innings here. He's actually missing quite a few bats and getting strikeouts. I wasn't planning to get to Cantillo. Curious where you ended up on him. This is one where maybe I don't do this very often, but might lean on what the props say for outs and strikeouts with the pitcher. I'm not sure exactly what the plan is for him with the Guardians. But what about you, Bryce? What'd you end up here with Chicago and Cleveland in right field in Chicago?
This is one of my least favorite games in general. Just in terms of both bats and pitching. Cantillo has decent props. He's going to make my pool. I think he's a decent cheap pitching option. We've talked about some expensive stacks, some cheap pitchers. He would fall behind Perez for me, but it's not like I have 30% Perez and I'll probably have 15% Cantillo. So he'll make some teams for me. If I was playing 10 max, I'd definitely throw him in 1. 3 max, I don't think he would make my pool. Bats don't really like them a lot here. If you do want to play Cleveland, they're very cheap. So naturally that hits my lineup some. I just don't know if I'll be over on them. I currently have them, 5 to 8% across the board, with more on Jose Ramirez. So might be over on Jose and under on the very cheap guys, but they're fine to fill out your lineup. Don't really have any interest on Chicago, White Sox. Once again, it's if you're playing these cheap bats, I would rather get leverage on the pitcher. So I would much rather play Colorado cheap bats as opposed to White Sox cheap bats. If you're really looking to get cheap and try and get some leverage, I don't think you'd get much on Jorge, but you're going to get a lot of Martinez.
Yeah, looking at Cantillo's, his last results have been good, and he's actually getting a lot of swing and miss. Good swing and strike rate against Houston, who's all right-handed bats, against a lefty. That's not a good matchup for Cantillo on paper. Against the Cubs, who we know are good offense, and against the Dodgers. So he's missing the bats, and now he gets this White Sox team. Our guy Steve Boynton in chat, good to see him up bright and early on this Sunday morning.
I was talking to Boynton earlier. He's going to be out in Lake Michigan today. It's one of his boys' birthdays. They're renting a boat. So shout out to Steve for.
He might not be up bright and early tomorrow, Boynton, but
certainly not on a Monday morning. That is not. Steve is a Sunday get after it type of guy. He is not a Monday get after it type of guy.
Sunday fun day for Boynton. I'm sure he'll enjoy sweating the games out on the lake. Sounds like a good time to me. But yeah, 6,800 for Cantillo. I'm in. I'm joining the Cantillo party officially. Looking at some of those numbers. No Savale, and not going to play a ton of bats here. I'm with you on that part of it, Bryce. Let's get to second half of this slate. Texas and Houston. This one in Minute Maid Park in Houston. You've got 2 good right-handed pitchers going here. Hunter Brown coming off, I think, his worst start of the year, or certainly one of them, against the Guardians. Still got through 6 innings, but the strikeouts weren't there. I did watch most of that start. I kind of think just a hiccup, bump in the road, if you will, for Hunter Brown and what has been an awesome season, even dating back to the second half of last year when he made some changes. Hunter Brown been maybe somewhat quietly one of the very best pitchers in baseball. Gets a pretty good matchup here at home against the Rangers, who have done some damage, but the Rangers to me seem like a kind of almost like a matchup sensitive team where they get mostly mowed down, I think, by good pitching, as long as he can navigate Corey Seager in the 2-hole. I think Hunter Brown can do his thing here. So I like him for a bounce back start at 10.7K. I do like him more than Logan Gilbert if you're spending all the way up. So I'm in on the Hunter Brown train. And then Eovaldi has had 2 very strong starts in a row. really good season for Eovaldi. He's had some minor injuries, but man, a 1.62 ERA for Eovaldi is pretty wild. And a decent matchup here, mostly right-handed bats, obviously, for the Astros. They don't hit righties super well, and Eovaldi, for the most part, mows right-handers down. Ownership-wise, looks like Eovaldi maybe 10 to 15%. Hunter Brown should be one of the highest owned pitchers on the slate, maybe coming around 25%. Where'd you end up on the pitchers here? And I assume you're not going to too many bats here, Bryce, but talk to us about Texas and Houston.
Show's running a bit long here, so I'll keep this pretty succinct. I like pitching. I don't like hitting. Eovaldi is actually my favorite pitcher on the slate. I like him a ton in this Houston matchup. And, favorite pitcher on the slate is kind of a relative term because I'm not playing 50, 60% of him, but I'm around 40, 45% on Eovaldi. I really think this is a solid matchup for him against the Houston team that I don't really believe in here. And then on the other side, Hunter Brown, I think he's fine. He's not my favorite pitcher today. Rangers, to me, I 100% agree with you. They seem like flat track bullies, where they're going to hit bad pitching and be totally clueless against good pitching. If you're not playing Brown, wanted to play some leverage, I think Seager would be at 1,000%.
Clearly the best Texas bat. It's not even close.
Yes. So him as a one-off, I'm totally fine with. I don't have a lot of interest in the rest of the lineup. Brown, I'm only 18% on Brown, and that's more of a pricing thing here. Because I would rather go with these 9K guys like Eovaldi, Flaherty at 8.5. The super expensive pitching just falls off a little for me here because I am trying to get in some weird higher price stacks that we went over before.
I'm with you. Good pitching here, and looks like a pretty good spot for Eovaldi. I'm in on the Eovaldi train as well. Pittsburgh and Minnesota up next in Target Field. Looks like another game with pretty good hitting weather here. Two mediocre righties going. Mitch Keller for the Pirates. Eats a lot of innings, and actually, he's been pretty solid. Maybe underselling him a little bit, but still not someone that I love playing, and I don't mind targeting, especially left-handed bats against him. Of course, you've got the red-hot Byron Buxton at the top of the lineup, hit for the cycle yesterday, and some decent Twins bats. Larnach, Wallner got power from the left side. Cody Clemens, huge power bat. Pinch hit risk too, but power bat down in the 7th hole. I think there's some decent options for the Twins. And then Woods Richardson, I don't think I would go here. I would expect his duration to be kind of cut short the day before the All-Star break here. Twins, I think, will probably go to the bullpen pretty early in most scenarios, unless he's cruising. But he is 6,400, and he does get the Pirates, so I don't want to completely write him off. Bryce, what do you see between the Pirates and the Twins here?
Weird situation where I don't want really any Pirates, and I also don't want the pitcher against them. 100% agree on Woods Richardson. I'm not playing him, and I don't think I can double check here, but I don't really think I have any Pirates bats in the spot. I lied. I got to about 3% on the top 5 bats here, which is about Horwitz through Gonzalez or Horwitz through Hayes. Definitely not interested in the bottom of the order. Twins bats, I have a decent amount of interest in here. They went nuts yesterday. You saw Buxton hit for the cycle, but to me, this kind of seems like a spot where they can steal bases against Keller. He's always prone to stolen bases. Keller has been very good for the Pirates this year, but I much prefer him at home. They're extremely cheap outside of Buxton. So I do have interest in some Twins here, and they kind of fall into what bucket do they fall into? The Boston type of bucket for me as one of my favorite second type of stacks. You can play them as a 3-man and pretty much be able to do whatever you want with the rest of your lineup. So I'm in on the Twins here, out on Keller, out on Woods Richardson, and pretty out on the Pirates.
I'm with you. Let's get to Nationals and Brewers in American Family Field in Milwaukee. Freddie Peralta, another certainly top option on the slate. I'm usually just in general lower on Peralta than the field is at his price point and ownership. To me, doesn't have quite the upside of some of the other arms priced around him on most slates. And I think maybe including this one, you just don't see many 30-plus point games out of Peralta. But decent matchup here. No James Wood for the Nationals is a big
helps
game.
A ton.
Yeah, awesome hitter. James Wood's been incredible all season long. Not in the lineup. Even so, most of these Nationals hitters do a pretty good job of making contact. So I still do have Peralta below. I personally like Eovaldi better. I like Hunter Brown better, and I like Flaherty better, kind of in the top end. So I'm still a little bit lower for sure than the field on Peralta, but I typically am. So maybe somewhat of a bias for me against him for whatever reason. And then Jake Irvin going for the Nationals. No interest for me in him. I do like some of these Brewers lefties, though. Irvin gets hit really hard by left-handed bats. So Christian Yelich in the 3-hole in particular looks like a strong play to me. Frelick, Turang, a little bit of interest in those guys. But actually, the Brewers kind of remind me a little bit of the Rangers, where to me there's just one bat that looks awesome compared to the rest. It's obviously Yelich for the Brewers, and it would be Seager for the Rangers. As one-offs, I think are strong plays. But what about you, Bryce? What do you see here? Nationals and Brewers.
This is a little bit of a tough read for me. To start it off, I'm about 22% on Peralta here. He falls a little bit below the other pitchers that we like more and have talked about, but he definitely makes the pool for me. Like if I'm playing 5 teams, he's definitely in one. Like he would be on the fringe if I was playing 3 teams. 1 team, he would not make it for me. Like I do prefer like an Eovaldi Flaherty pairing, as you said, but I do think he has some upside here. It's just not the Nats are like really not the best matchup. James Wood out helps a ton. I'm much more apt to playing Peralta without James Wood in this lineup. I don't think he's going to come in super high owned. I don't have a lot of interest in Nats bats as like a leverage play type of situation.
Yeah.
Brewers bats, I do like. Irvin he just kind of is what he is at this point. They're kind of cheap. Like no one's over 5K. Like it's not a stack that's going to break the bank. And I do think they have upside here. I played him a good amount yesterday. It was obviously a better matchup against Osagara, or if that's how you say his name.
He's Asawara on this show after big
Asawara. Yeah, he's trash, but managed to throw a decent game yesterday, which is just kind of baseball. I don't mind the Brewers here. They kind of fall in with like the Twins as like a second. It's like the Reds and then everyone else for me that's like decent, and the Brewers kind of fall into that bucket. So I'll probably be about 8 to 20% on these hitters, depending on how much I like them. I do agree that Yelich is the best play here. And then I kind of like Sal Frelick. No one ever really plays him, and he has not been getting pinch hit for at the top of this lineup. So I think Brewers stack is definitely in play here.
And you're on, Uncle T. We'll do a lunch bet. I'll take Eovaldi. You got Peralta. And next time I'm in the great state of Kentucky, which hopefully never, but if I am, I'll be glad to have you take me to the finest chicken finger restaurant in the area in Kentucky after Eovaldi outscores Freddie Peralta. So you're on, Uncle T, on that one. 2 more games to talk about. Mets and Royals. The first one up here, this one in Kauffman Stadium. Not quite as hot. Good hitting weather as we've seen, but still decent in Kansas City. Rookie lefty Noah Cameron going for KC. Been pretty solid, honestly, for them. I'm not a huge believer in him and don't have a ton of interest in him in this particular matchup against the Mets, but he's pitched all right, enough where I'm not really looking to load up the wagons on the Mets bats. And then Clay Holmes going for the Mets kind of reminds me of Nick Martinez a little bit. Kind of a low strikeout, decent real life pitcher. He's a little bit better than Nick Martinez. But I don't love playing Clay Holmes, and I don't think I'm going to do it here against a mostly low strikeout team in the Royals. I'm just kind of mostly out on this game, though. Bryce, what about you, Mets and Royals?
Not a game I love.
Yeah.
Not to agree with you yet again, but yeah, I don't have any Clay Holmes. He's not going to pitch deep enough into this game. And then Noah Cameron, the Mets are a shit matchup for him. Don't want anything to do with him here. And also, like, I don't really love these hitters. I think you can play them as one-offs, which is definitely my preferred way to play. Like, each team has their individual bats that have upside. Like, Soto's got nuts. Nobody's going to play him lefty-lefty. I think that's a fine play. Vientos is super cheap at 2.8, hitting second. Bobby Witt on the other side, 5.8. I don't think anyone's on him here. And, Bobby obviously has a ton of upside anytime he touches the slate. And, Ellie's going to be, 30% owned compared to Bobby at like 2 or 3. Like, I think that's a buy for me. But it's more on like these good individual hitters. I would add Lindor and Alonso to that mix, but it's kind of one-offs for me here.
Yeah. All right. Last game of the slate, Atlanta and St. Louis. This is the game that we mentioned has potential weather issues. I did just look at the radar while you're talking. I do think they're going to get this game in, most likely. But
I kind of had the opposite opinion.
Okay.
I think I'm kind of fading it.
Yeah. Well, that was actually my conclusion. It's the last game.
There's a lot of good games on this slate that I want to play. I don't think this is something you have to take a risk on, and I really don't want to get weather screwed the day before the All-Star break.
Exactly.
So I don't think it's worth the risk, personally.
Okay, I agree with that part. I do think they're going to play. I don't really want to risk it. I just don't see anything in this game that looks so good to me that on an 11-game slate, a lot of good spots. I don't want to be stressing about this game if it starts or not. So I'm probably mostly going to fade this game, but just real quick, Sonny Gray, I do think he's an okay play. If you'll get him super low owned, people are going to be afraid to play him. So I don't know, maybe you get off to a bad start or something and you need a low owned, high upside pitcher. I guess you could play Sonny Gray. I wouldn't play Davis Daniel. And I don't really see a lot of bats here. So quick thoughts on Braves and Cardinals, and we'll go back over the slate and get out of here.
I'm fading the game, so I don't have a ton of thoughts, but Sonny Gray would be the guy here. We talked about pitching a good amount here. I'm just going to get an extra. I had 9% Sonny Gray running a blind. I'm just going to give that to like Eovaldi and Flaherty, essentially. So that's kind of where I'm at here. I just don't think it's worth the risk on this slate. Our weather guy stats kind of he has pretty good weather opinions. He thinks it's a little risky, and if he thinks it's a little risky, it's a lot risky. So just not a game I'm really going to be on here.
I'm with you. Let's go back over hitting stacks, all that good stuff. Then we'll get on out of here. Your favorite pitching combination on DraftKings today, Bryce? What are you looking at?
I'm going to go Flaherty, Eovaldi.
I like that combination. Those are my two favorite high-end pitchers. We'll throw in two low-end pitchers in the mix. Yuri Perez, my favorite of the bunch, and kind of coming around on Jose Cantillo. But I will have Eovaldi and Flaherty as well. Those are my top 4 guys on this slate. So there we go. It seems like we agree on most stuff on this slate. Bryce, give us your top 2 stacks, and then I'll give my 2, and we'll get out of here. Got to make our lineups in this last 30 minutes. But top 2 stacks today, Bryce.
Cincy and Boston. If you want a weird stack, it is the Rockies for me, as much as it pains me to say it.
I do like the Rockies as well. My top 2, I'm also going with the Reds. They owe me from yesterday. And then give me the I like the 2-3-4 for the Marlins, and then contrarian paying up. Give me the Cubs bats against Will Warren. Those lefties, Bush Tucker, PCA in particular, I think are a high upside, low owned way to go. That'll do it for this Sunday show. Appreciate everybody watching all season long. Hope everyone enjoys their Sunday. Enjoy the All-Star break. And this show will be back on Friday night fireworks with Boynton and Stats. And I might be itching for some baseball at that point. So maybe we'll do a 3-man Friday booth. I'll be ready to talk some ball with the boys once Friday comes around. But that'll do it for now. He's Schlong. I'm DC. We're out of here.